Welcome back to the Swish Show, where, as always, my name is Ryan Tuckwood. Today's guest is a best-selling author of 7 business books and 1 gorgeous children's book. He had his first business at just 14 years of age and is the youngest recipient of the British Excellence in Sales and Marketing Award. He's a sought-after advisor to global brands, the creator of the most listened-to non-fiction audiobook of all time, and a firm believer that almost every problem could be prevented or solved if more people knew exactly what to say. Here to help you make more of your conversations count, please welcome to the Swish Show, Mr. Phil M. Jones. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with an obvious question. It's an easy question, depending on how you interpret it. Who the hell's Phil M. Jones?
Still trying to figure that out myself, to be honest. In the context of being here today is I've been somebody who's been involved in helping people who don't see themselves as salespeople to be able to sell better for what now is bordering on 20 plus years. So started very early in the UK in department store retail, trying to help people that didn't realize that they could actually influence and persuade decisions to be able to do more. Trained there, trained furniture retail industry, trained inside the professional soccer space, went on to build a real estate business that turned over £240 million at its peak, and then started a small sales training company in the UK back in 2008. Fast forward to where are we now? Spoken to over 800 different industries, 59 different countries, reached about 3 million people, sold over 3 million copies of one of my little books, written 11 other books that I haven't done anywhere near as well. And yeah, just love helping people realize what can be achieved by giving more intention to the words that leave their mouth, leave their fingers, leave their keyboards, leave their thumb strokes, and enjoy trying to see people understand how they can make more influence of other people by using vocal inflection.
That's an intro. On that note, then, what's a good podcast interview for you? How does this go well?
How does this go well? Well, it depends, right? We can put multiple levels of success. Like one way of it going well could be as simple as it's a chance for you and I to be able to connect in front of the camera, and it provides an excuse to have a meeting, right? It can be as simple as that. What else could make it go well is, well, we could create a piece of killer content that goes viral, that changes the world, that reaches 50 million people. What else could make this successful is just one person is watching this at home that finds some form of insight that says, aha, I've never seen it that way before. That was really helpful. And I think that's been my number one goal in all I do is how do I be helpful? Like, I speak on stage, and one of the worst things you get is like, you were awesome. What often I'm looking for is like, that was useful, that was helpful, that was valuable, I can use that. So I think, being useful, being of purpose, being of value is probably, the base level goal of any piece of work I do.
Do you get that little dopamine hit when people go, that was enjoyable, that was fun, thank you? Do you get a little bit from that?
It's always nice to be appreciated, right? In any area of work, is you want people that are rooting for you and cheering you on. And there's an element as a professional speaker that that you're there to entertain, right? You're an intelligent entertainer to a point. There is some degree of you are a guaranteed outcome on the agenda for the event organizers, that you're a safe bet, safe pair of hands to cover a part of the agenda. I don't not enjoy compliments, but they don't light me up when the compliment is related to the performance. If the compliment is related to how that person feels, if the compliment is related to what that person can go on to be able to do, then I love it. Like if somebody's like, I can't normally sit still in a presentation, and what you gave me was like really engaging, it was really insightful, and I wrote 3 pages of notes, like that fuels my soul.
Yeah.
If they were like, oh, you're amazing, I'm like, no, I'm doing my job.
The one that gets me is when they go, that was really funny. It wasn't supposed to be a comedy show. Did you get anything from the content? Oh yeah, but it just wasn't what I expected, especially when you were dressed like that.
Right.
That's usually my one.
Yeah.
I want to ask, because you're in my eyes, you're quite naturally entrepreneurial.
Sure.
From the outside, it feels like that anyway. 14 years old, you started a car washing business.
That's right.
15, you were earning more than your teachers, as it's been written. Where does that come from? Is that a family trait, entrepreneurism?
I think hard work is. I think a belief system around you can be more than your circumstances has definitely been ingrained into me from an early age. Like I'm the son of a builder. My dad is a hardworking construction worker in the UK, and he went on his own to be able to start his own business. from underneath his dad when he was in his late teens. So like
Okay.
the hard work ethic that you don't have to follow a traditional pattern is definitely something I've seen in abundance in my youth. The entrepreneurial kind of the sky's the limit, there's no ceiling to what you can achieve, has probably come from a relentless curiosity that's existed in me forever. Is I have a simple belief that if somebody else can do something, can somebody else be me? Not only was I building businesses in my teens, but I was like reading Richard Branson's autobiography. That was what I wanted for my 14th birthday present from my parents.
Who introduced you to Richard Branson? Like, how did you even know this personal development world existed?
Well, I think personal brand existed before people were talking about personal brand, right? You're seeing this. There's a human that built something in terms of a business, and growing up at the age that I'm at, you didn't get a lot of exposure to what it really meant to be able to build a business. So my early inspirations were things like what Richard Branson was doing, and then also looking at TV shows like Dragon's Den in the UK, and looking at the people that were sat in the dragon chairs, not the people that sat the other side. And I was like, how did they get to that? What were they doing that is different to that?
Yeah.
And my goal wasn't to be the guy on Dragon's Den that gets the funding. My deal was like, how do I get to be one of those people that is making those decisions, and looking to see what can be invested in? And then that's been really fascinating to me. So I've been relentlessly curious, and I've learned that if you ask other people who are good at stuff how they got there, they'll tell you. And I think it's a life hack. It is people like, I don't know how to do stuff. It's like, no, find people who've done it that are humble enough to be able to share with you how, and they'll tell you. So I was going to senior execs in major organizations and asking, like, can I shadow with you for a period of time? And some would say yes. I would be taking any of like my dad's friends, etc., who had executive roles or had built big businesses, etc. And when I'd go pick my dad up from the pub when I was 18, 19 years of age, I'd sit with one of his buddies who was wealthier and built big businesses, and I'd buy him a beer and find out some insights of what that story was. And you learn success leaves clues, right? We think we have to figure everything out by ourselves.
Yeah, 100%.
It's been done before. And then one of the most liberating pieces of advice I got was with an early mentor of mine, a guy by the name of Peter Thompson in the UK. And Peter taught me that nobody's paying you for a unique idea. What people are interested in is your take on probably an existing idea that's already being practiced. And that was so liberating to me, is like,
you don't need to reinvent it.
You don't need to reinvent it. What you're looking to be able to do is to bring your unique perspective to known problems, like the landscape of what you're solving changes. And I think rather than being entrepreneurial, that concludes really more so that I just like making stuff better. Whatever better is like, how do we get after that? And I think what's been hard in my journey in that is the chase has never been the money. The chase has never been like, how do you get to 10 million? How do you get to 100 million, etc.? That's never been the objective. It's this ego badge. It's like, what's the puzzle we're trying to solve? And that gets difficult sometimes inside client arrangements, or it gets difficult when you're trying to be of service. Because if you're not clear on the mission, you're not clear on the problem you're trying to solve, then it becomes harder to play all in.
So the environment has dictated a lot of your journey then, like with your dad and his dad. I don't come from that background. My dad worked in a factory. Mum was an admin and a cleaner. I wasn't exposed to any business conversations at all. So if you could, and I've got 2 kids now, a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old. You got 4 girls.
That's right.
Watch out for Tuckwood boys. How old are you girls?
18, 15, and then 6-year-old twins.
I guess 6. Oh, wow. Okay. What is one belief that you really want them growing up with? If you could instill a belief into any child on the planet, what would it be?
I think I'd look at a few things. One is never forget the importance of doing the basics to a high standard consistently. There is no shortcut. Basics to a high standard consistently. Basics to a high standard consistently. I think belief-wise is a belief that served me very well that I'd echo, is that if somebody else can do it, can somebody else be me? And that's a question that allows you to go inwardly to say, well, sometimes the answer is not yes. Like, can somebody else play in the NBA and win a championship? Yes. Can that somebody be me? Probably not. But often it revolves, and the answer is yes, and here's what it would take to be able to get there. And you get to be able to make a choice as to what it's going to take to be able to do that. And the third is that better beats best if you give it enough time. So if you can get better today and then better tomorrow and then better the day after that and better the day after that and keep on that journey for a period of time, whatever today's current best is, you will surpass it. And I think that's an important belief for two reasons. One is that you've got a chance to be able to excel from where you are right now with that mindset. But two is, don't get complacent. Like we see in this industry right now is like, I've been in the helping business since 2008. I'm 43 years of age right now, and I see people who are 10, 15, 20 years ahead of me in the race that have now reached positions of irrelevance. They're like close to done. And then you see other people that are 10 years behind you in the race being like, dang, these guys are getting good.
They're coming.
You've either got to be like, well, what is happening for that to be able to push you forward and grow your relevance? Because you could be the best in what it is right now, but if there's people behind you that are getting better and better and better and better and better, you don't get to keep your top spot.
So have you got your head up then looking at, for want of a better phrase, the competition, so you don't get complacent, or how do you not get complacent?
How do I get not complacent? Is I know for sure I'm remarkably replaceable. Like I'm 100% certain that let's just use the keynote speaking environment. There is almost any event that I know I could crush it, but also if it wasn't me, there would be 15, 20, 30 other people that could equally crush it that would deliver great results. Like we're so replaceable.
Yeah.
And I'm really okay with that, because I think it allows you to play full on, but it also allows you to realize like one day you're going to step off the train and you're going to decide you don't need to do this anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it also allows you to be humble enough that you're not going to win them all. You're going to lose a number of great opportunities. And it's like the professional acting world. Like, how many leading man roles are there inside any given movie? There's one. Now, there could have been 50 great actors that could have showed up and played that role. But the unique take that person brings on it may make it iconic. But it doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't have taken that role and made it even more iconic.
Sure.
So I live in the confidence that, no, I'm really good at what I'm doing, but also so are other people.
And then you marry that up with a burning desire to always be better every day.
Yep.
Which leads me into something that I love that you talk about a lot, is do the work before the work.
100%.
We have a process, as every sales coaching organization does. Prep is the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
Talk to us about your prep and doing the work before you do the work.
Oh, I'm probably one of the most relentless, ridiculous people that focus on preparation more than anybody else. And I wrote the book The Work Before the Work with a friend of mine called Paul Caffrey, and there's something I don't get to share very often, is I deliberately wrote that book expecting it to be a badly selling book. I think it's one of the most practical books on sales preparation that's ever been written. And the irony is that this is a book that gives the blueprint for how every salesperson can be more successful before they even get to a discussion. And people are too lazy to freaking read it. Like, nobody wants to do the work, let alone the work before the work. I titled it on purpose because I wanted the joke of being able to say I wrote the blueprint for sales success in preparation ahead of time alongside Paul Caffrey, and people still can't be bothered to be able to do it. And there is so much you can do today to be able to win ahead of time. It's always been true. But you used to need a private investigator to do it. Like, even simple things, and this is a super practical application right now, is I had a call maybe 2 weeks ago for a keynote and then some consultant work with a large pharmaceutical company. And I know that I'm in the final mile and I'm being considered alongside at least 2-3 other people. And I'm on the final win the business call. So what I do a tiny bit of research ahead of time with knowing who the people are that are coming to the call. I find out where they worked before, etc. I go looking for any articles or any published works that they have. And given that I know the primary drug inside this pharma company that is going to be part of the conference, is I do some research around what the competitors are to that product, i.e. where they're going to be needing to win market share. I also go looking for the parent company, like senior executives, and look for anything that they've written. And now I punch all of that into ChatGPT and I get insights and thoughts around what they might be dealing with. And I show up to the call after my 12 minutes of prep and people are blown away.
Yeah.
Because I understand the problem that organization is trying to solve, and I understand who the people are that are trying to solve that problem. And it completely changes the game. But people think that winning in sales environments is like having the gift of the gab in the conversation in the moment. It's what can you do to be overcoming objections? How do you get better at your closing skills? How do you show up with more confidence in those environments? And those skills are really important. But what if you can win the game before you even got on the pitch?
Mm.
Like, that seems to be a smarter mindset. And I have a viewpoint around selling in general is like lazy salespeople, they show up and throw up features and benefits, hoping something's going to stick. Smart ones will do the work to find the 1 or 2, 3 reasons as to why what you've got is right. But the really exceptional pros, they give people no good reason to not choose them, which is a different level of conversion.
Yeah,
I've been obsessed with obnoxious levels of conversion in my sales. It's just obnoxious levels. Like, what would it take to get 97% of the deals you wanted? That's where my head goes. Not, hey, the industry's at 35%, I'm crushing it because I close at 45. I'm like, what would it take to get 97 of the ones that I wanted? And the 3 that I didn't get is because I said no thank you.
That was the bit I heard in that. Is the how important is that to choose your clients?
It's massive. Because otherwise what happens is you ruin your day and you ruin the way you show up for your other clients because you're working with somebody who's a pain in the butt. And people think that like there's an infinite amount of opportunity. There isn't. There's a finite amount of opportunity and you have a finite amount of capacity. So choose where you put it.
Yeah.
Put it in the right place. And because of the role that marketing has played in the last 10, 15 years for business growth, people have forgot how to sell. There's been heavy effort on lead gen. There's been heavy effort on appointment creation. There's been heavy effort on automation, on how do we get there and how do we create tools that deliver presentations and how do we give, the ultimate demo and, what do we do to deliver the perfect pitch that means that people say yes. And nobody's talking about choose your customers. And the result is that people get inbound lead, inbound lead, inbound lead, inbound lead. And most of those inbound leads are wrong. So a question I often ask of people is like, how many brand new customers would you like in the next 12 months? You know how hard that question is for people to answer? Most people can't even answer it.
Yeah.
And then I get an answer from an audience and they'll be like, 36. I'm like, where'd you get that number from? I'm like, well, I just made it up.
Just how to go 3 months ago. Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good. I'm like, the first time they'd thought about that was then. And then I say to them, like, if you were bringing 36 people to a dinner party and that was the number of seats you had around the table, what's the first thing you'd do?
Figure out who they are.
Well, figure out they are and write a guest list, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't run Facebook ads. You wouldn't be trying to say, well, let me put a direct mailer out to 1,000 people in the neighborhood so you might fancy dinner on Friday night.
Yeah.
You'd be way more intentional about who it is that you're looking to get after. And if you're not choosing your customers, it means they're probably choosing you. And the biggest reason that they could be choosing you is because somebody else decided they didn't want them anymore, which is a big deal, particularly for service-based business offerings.
You got somebody else's bad customer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
We've done this.
Because of you do lead flow, etc. Because you didn't go like, you're my people, and that's how we can get
We've gone, we need to pay rent this month. We'll take you. It's only 12 months, they'll be done. And then you find that then they want to stay, those ones as well. And then you find yourself having to sack them. I want to come back to sales in a second, but I also wanted to get your take on prep for keynoting and public speaking.
Yeah.
Because we do have quite a big audience that are fascinated with that as well, me included.
Yeah.
What's the prep look like for you? How anal, for want of a better word, are you before you go on stage?
How far back do you want to go on this?
Go wherever you want.
I have a simple belief when I'm delivering a keynote presentation. Firstly, I'm not delivering a speech to 1,000 people. I'm delivering a speech to 1,000 individuals at exactly the same time. So this is not a block of people. So I need to know who's in the room. And that typically means that 1,000 people is, it's 13 key event sponsors. It's an exec board of 17. It's 86 VIPs that paid extra for their tickets. It's a number of guests that are looking to potentially join or maybe do business with, etc. I want to know the segments of the audience so I can understand who's in the room, so I can craft examples that show that I know the people that are in the audience. And that could be as simple as a throwaway line or just a sight line when delivering a line towards a different subsegment of the audience. So I need to know all of that. I also need to know who's spoken before me and where it sits in the agenda and the programming. Because there's a big difference between how you open a show versus how you run the middle of a show versus how do you bring it home. And, I want to know the panels. I want to know who's on before. I want to know where everything fits. Because as a speaker at an event, all you are is a runner in a relay race. Stop trying to steal the show. Your job is to be able to do your job in the show so the show delivers upon its promise. If you make it about you, even if you win, you might lose. And so many egotistical speakers.
Oh, that's good.
Right? Like I crushed it. They loved me. Right?
But I ruined the event for the organisers.
And they run 12 minutes late, and they were messing with people around, and they missed the big objective. And the event didn't deliver on its promise because people didn't realize that the main purpose of the event was for them to get excited about this new technology system or these upgrades to a new product. Like, they missed the point of what they were really in service of because they thought that the event was for them. So don't ever underestimate that you're a part in somebody else's story. So understand what part you are being asked to play.
Yeah.
And if you don't know your role right, you're likely to get it wrong. And that can sometimes mean like, hey, Phil, what we need you to do is we need you to stop people leaving the event early. I get that shift a ton. Like, 3-day event, Phil, you're the speaker after lunch on day 3. Because we're using you for name recognition. We know that people are going to value your content. We're giving you an extended session because we want people to not leave early. And you understand that role, and you also understand that I'm going to get the shittiest part of the audience, but not really. I'm actually going to get the best part of the audience, because what's going to happen is like, it's not going to be the pump up from the beginning. It's going to be the 2/3 of people that are left. Because as much as they might try to use you as somebody who's getting people to stick around, people don't. If they wanted to go and they get a plane to get back and leaving at 11 meant they can get home for their family, it don't matter who's coming. You could be bringing somebody back from the dead. Yeah. And it's still not, like Michael Jackson.
Probably going to happen soon. Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll be like, no, I got to see these. It's fine. Yeah. Right. So nobody's that big of a deal. But you know that your role then is to make it worth it for the people that stayed. You know that your role is to fill the gap of the 30% of the room that's missing, is that you've got to bring a different level of energy in there to help people realize that they got a treat for staying longer. Like, that's a different gig than, like, I'm here in Australia right now. I was just in New Zealand. My job was to open for the New Zealand conference for Harcourts. Well, what am I doing in that environment? By difference is I'm setting a bar high for the rest of the conference. What I become is the pacemaker for everything else that follows. The job to be able to do is, people are like, we either paid money or we earned it to be there. I hope this is going to be good. Boom. Phil kicks us off high. Now everybody else is like, oh, damn.
Yeah. That's good.
Oh, damn.
Ruined it for everybody else.
Well, you set a bar.
Pacemaker's a great phrase for it, yeah.
So you got to know your role. That all exists in prep. The other things you then look towards understanding is like, what are the mission critical issues that are existing inside that business at that period of time? And it doesn't mean you're going to change a lot, but you might change 3 to 5 to 10% of the way that you deliver based on how you're going to sharpen your examples. There's a big difference between somebody saying that was a great speech and feeling like that speech was for me. And you can do that work ahead of time. Like, people shouldn't have to do the work to say, how do I apply this in my life? Yeah. If I can do that work ahead of time in prep, that gap gets shortened, message gets stickier. And the other thing that you look at in prep is deciding which version of yourself do you bring to this. Are you bringing, if we use a music analogy, are you bringing the rock concert version of yourself? Are you bringing the festival version of yourself? Or are you bringing the a cappella, back bar, guitar, small acoustic set version of yourself? And like, these are choices. And dress code then gets considered for that, and energy levels, and how do you open, and like, you start to be able to look at it like a recipe, and which parts of my pantry am I reaching for to be able to deliver that version of self today. And then from a prep point of view, I write every speech again on the day of, but I'll write it in one of these notebooks. I think this is a fresh one, so I probably haven't got one here. But yeah, I take a notebook like this and I'll mind map my speech in speech bubbles, etc., and I'll plan my transitions, etc. And I do that with a coffee in the morning, but then I also want to be in the room. And I don't need an AV check to be able to check my slides and to make sure the microphone works. Is I want to understand, how am I using the room as a prop? What am I doing to block and stage on the stage? How am I using the corners? What am I doing if I'm leaving the stage? How am I giving consideration to how I might annotate, or what hand gestures I use to be able to articulate points? I'm choreographing.
Yeah, you're creating your performance.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they're just decisions. Like, if I believe the worst time you should think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment of saying it, I should probably carry that into what my performance is too.
Yeah.
And give consideration to any pre-planned choices that could be made. Well, why don't I make them ahead of time so that I can deliver on?
Yeah. I want to quickly share with you, at our conference in October, we did, no, it wasn't October, it was the boot camp that we did this February. We have a finale that we do. I won't ruin it in case people want to come to it. But there's a segment where we all the team jump off the stage. We've done a thank you. We jump off the stage. And what I'd done is corral everybody into the middle. So we were doing a thank you, and it just felt more of a community. So a couple of hundred people. Inadvertently, then I closed off some of the gaps between the seating. So I jumped off the stage with the plan of running around, timed it perfectly to run back onto stage for the closing of the song. I couldn't get back in. I couldn't get back in. Yeah. I was like just stuck outside this weird audience bubble, and I had to go all the way back around.
You watch it.
Hadn't thought about it.
Like, I do a lot of crowd work in my speeches, so I will leave the stage. I'll work with people in the audience, and most people don't know how to do it well because they don't know how to get back. And their movement through an audience is sporadic, and then they come to an end of like, oh dang, well, like, how do I get out here? How do I get back to where I need to be? Because they didn't think about all of the steps. And I remember doing a speech for the National Speakers Association back in 2018, and it was called The Future of the Speaking Business. And event production companies, for a while, they start getting really excited about different stage layouts, right? And how do we get super creative with stages in the corners and people popping up on different stages? So that's what they'd done here is I had the stage I started on. I had another stage over here, another stage in the other corner, and then another stage over here. And the plan was for the event to be able to utilize all these stages. I'm opening and I'm like, well, if there's 4 stages in a room, I got to use them all. Right? You can't, like, there can't be things in a room that are to be useful and then they're not used. And you see this in a lot of events. People do these big T-shaped stages and things, and nobody knows how to use it. So they just end up even weird. Or, but the people are like, how did you use all of the 4 different stages? I said, I didn't. I said, there were 6 stages. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there's the stage that I started on. There's the floor. There's the other 3 stages that allow a drop back towards the floor. And then there's the stage that I finish on, which is also the stage that I started on, but is a brand new stage by the time I get there. So you map it to be like, how am I making points that carry me between each of the different messages? And even super simple things like, I remember in that environment, like I'm stepping back onto a stage and I made a joke that was one of the questions that people get asked a lot in the pro speaking business is, what do you speak on, right? What do you speak on? What do you speak on is a question. So when I'm delivering a lesson about the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it, what's a question that we get asked repeatedly as pro speakers? And I obviously get the, what do you speak on? What do you speak on? I'm like, how do you answer? How do you answer? How do you answer? How do you answer? And I get people's stupid answers. And then I said, well, I really want to say sometimes when people ask me is, what do I speak on? I say, I speak on a stage. But as I said the same thing, step up on the stage, plant the foot, and it's like, boom, speak on a stage, but like land the line with that. Like that's the level of obnoxious thought I go into. Is like, how do you
love it.
Get like all of those points coming across? And then how do you work through it? But you'll see a lot of people who think it's a good idea to jump off a stage and work an audience. Do it irresponsibly.
How do we see that? Like, what are you looking out for and go, that guy, girl, they don't know how to work an audience, or they don't know how to walk an audience?
What you'll see is one is when people are over people. By which I mean like their presence is domineering, that what they're actually looking to be able to do is to make people feel scared of them and vulnerable from them. So, I know we're recording here right now, but if I'm in an audience and you're sat in a chair and I'm here, sure, this can look impressive to everybody else, but you feel like you're not having a good time at this given moment.
Crutch level.
Yeah, it's like it's not a good look. So what you'll see is people domineer through an audience because they think they're the shit.
Yeah.
And that, they're swanning around in that given environment, and they're not realizing the purpose of getting into an audience is to add intimacy. The purpose of getting into an audience is to be able to get to eye level. The purpose of getting into an audience is to create points of access, not points of domineering. So when you see people who are playing over people in an audience, it's often an insecurity.
Yeah.
And the same with just like a random meandering wander. Is permission to not know your content. What they're doing is they are they are apologizing for the fact that they didn't have a good enough presentation to be able to deliver from the stage that feels like it was tight and on purpose and for the mission. So they're sharing ideas and stories, etc. And the random wander adds to that, right? They're just meandering through the audience, gives them permission to, and those are the people that then get lost. They find themselves like, how did I get here?
How long we got?
How long we got? And then, I've got 3 minutes left on the clock. Let me run back to the stage.
Yeah.
Let me finish
and you
this up.
see them, then they get a scurry on.
Correct.
Yeah. So how do you then balance? I'm an engineer by trade. I'm not sure if you're aware, but that was my background for 8 years. So I'm all about processes and systems, and I've really had to let go of some of my expectations on life, shall we say, especially in the public speaking arena. How do you balance being so prepared with having levels of spontaneity in there as well?
Well, the level of prep is what allows you to be present. See, people think prep means rehearsing your speech. No, prep means being ready. Like rehearsing your speech and knowing your lines and being aware of what it is that you're going to deliver. That's the work you did long before you got into that given environment.
Yeah.
Let's talk about scripting, for example, is people love hate on the scripting side of things. And the thing I refer to most people when they're thinking about scripting is have you ever seen a movie and cried? And the answer is most people are going to say yes to that question. And that was an actor reading a script, but they weren't reading a script, they were performing a script. And they were performing a script that was allowing them to be in character. They spent the time to be able to understand that script well enough so they could act as that character, so they could be very much in the moment. And then I say to the same people, isn't it true that some of the best movie moments happened when actors decided to do what? And they'll say things like improvise or wing it, etc. But they didn't. They went off script. They didn't wing it. They knew what was written on the page. They knew what they'd trained and prepared to do. And then they made a conscious decision in the moment that says, I think I can serve this moment better with a different choice than the one that was written. And then they showed up with that different choice. But to do that, there needs to be a script. Here is a sad thought that if only people could understand it better, is a human being cannot write, perform, and edit at the same time. I repeat, you cannot write, perform, and edit at the same time. Yeah, what do most people do is they step up into conversations, writing what it is that they're saying, whilst they're saying it, whilst they're thinking about the thing they just said.
Yeah.
And if we want to prove that you can't write, perform, and edit at the same time, if you've ever sat in a training or a conference and found yourself losing connection, it's almost certainly because the speaker was either terrible or more likely that what they were asking you to do was to read, watch, and listen at the same time. The reverse of write, perform, edit. Read, watch, listen. And you're like trying to read something on a slide or on a handout that's being referenced to whilst they're moving around, whilst they're speaking. And you're like, I can't compute. So you go to your safe place and you're like, well, let me get my phone because I'm happy here.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's because somebody was asking you to do too much. So when you're stepping into environments, being prepared allows you to grow your presence. It means that if something happens in a room, you can flow with it. It means that you can take on board your responsibility. And here's the easiest way to understand how responsible you are when you're delivering a speech. And we do this and we use your numbers. What was the last time you spoke?
On stage 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And how many people are in the audience?
200.
200. And what do those 200 people do?
Cross-section of business owners, students. There was nurses in there, engineers.
What would you say the average earnings were of somebody inside that room?
AUD 120K a year.
Okay. And if they were to charge out an hour of their time, what do you think that might be?
Oh, $100.
Okay. And how long were you speaking for?
45 minutes.
Okay.
Call it an hour.
Let's call it. Make it easier. But what you've got is you've got 200 people and you've got an hour of their time. So you've got 200 hours. You've got 2,020, like you've got 200K's worth of productivity in that hour. That's what you're in service of at that moment in time. That's what you're preparing for.
Yeah.
You're preparing for 200K's worth of productivity of high impact professionals.
It sounds like a respect to me. I respect your time so much that I'm prepared to do all of this beforehand.
Well, it's not your hour, it's their hours.
It says,
Like it's 200 times 60 times 100. That's what you're in service of. And you'd prepare for it differently if you view it that way. Because you have to be responsible to say, well, I want you to get the most out of your hour. It's not about me delivering my speech. And that sometimes means that you have to be able to deal with making changes on the fly.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean changing necessarily your content, but it might be making a choice of how you look to deliver that content. Where do you let a point just linger a little longer because that's what the moment was in service of? Or where do you decide to pick up the pace and move slightly quicker? Where do you shorten an example?
Do you think that's just an experience thing, or can that be taught?
I think it can be learned, and experience will accelerate that. And where that learning and experience can amplify together is by having great coaches around you, watching game tape, deciding you're never going to give the same speech twice, that you're actually looking to bring permanent refinement to what it is you're doing.
That's important, right? Because we have our signature keynotes and we have our verbatim presentations. So I'm assuming you'd be slightly against that because we want to be tailoring it to the room, right?
Well, let's look at how much can change, right? I've delivered over 3,000 paid professional presentations. Not delivered the same presentation twice, but there could be a lot of similarities. But if I look at the speech that I'm doing here in Australia versus the speech that I did in New Zealand a few days prior, on the face of it, it's the same speech. It's titled the same. It's in the program the same. It's the same time constraints, etc.
Yeah.
Also, I've got the experience of delivering in New Zealand for the same audience. I've got some callbacks and stories that I've collected from that given experience. I've got my time that's been here on the Gold Coast that is running in prior to that. I've got all these contextual evolutions that can exist. And what you generally should look to be able to do is if you can on purpose try and evolve 10% of your material every time you play, then what you have is like a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
But you're intentionally saying, well, how do I zip up that opening in a slightly different way that means I can get to that point and have 3 more minutes to be able to spread and play there?
Yeah.
And I came out of my speech on last week in New Zealand, and because I know how responsible it is to land the plane on time, and I was 45 minutes, which is super tight for me. I'm normally like 90 or certainly 75, 60. I didn't give myself the time at the end of the speech to be able to land the plane as well as I would have liked. Now, nobody else would have known that, but in my head, it just didn't feel right. So I'm making adjustments. Like, how do I get to that point earlier? Where do I cut? Where do I edit? Where do I refine to be able to bring it in? And when you're having fun, sometimes you'll add and edit, but this is what keeps it fresh and interesting.
Yeah.
It keeps you fun because we're in the live experience business. If you're delivering a cookie cutter every time, well, I might as well just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
If it's the same again. But even I take so many lessons from the music business. Why do you want to go see somebody live? They're going to play the same set list.
Yeah, true.
It's because stuff happens when it's live. It's different. There's an extended cut of that song.
I mean, it's like, why? It just does.
Well, sometimes there's a mashup of another artist comes in and performs part of it, or there is something that happens in the room, or something that's happened in the news, or something that's relevant in that period of time that gets blended into it that says, well, that was a be in the moment type moment. And that's our job as presenters sometimes, is to say you should have been there.
So take this for sales or speaking, but 3,000 gigs later, huge corporate commercial deals that you've signed, obviously from a sales perspective as well. What is something that you used to do, maybe you used to teach or do from a sales or speaking perspective, and you've gone, that doesn't work anymore? I can't believe I even used to do that.
Which doesn't work anymore. Something that I used to teach that doesn't work anymore. I think there's a lot about how we used to teach rapport. So rapport building is an art that has been taught forever inside the world of sales training environments, right? And people have their models, whether it's like Ford and its family, occupation, recreation, dreams, and you look back into Carnegie's work around what can be done for how to win friends and influence people. And I think the way that I would have been teaching that 10, 15, 20 years ago is very different to the way that I teach it today. Because historically, we'd be using things like, the sweetest sound to any person is the sound of their own name. And there are so many things that have just been overused. And you'll have seen people talk about like mirror matching and feel, felt, found. And, all of this rapport building technique that has existed in sales training for a long time. I'm so far in the opposite, in a very different direction.
And they still get applause on stage, don't they?
Of course. And there's merit in it for somebody who's coming from nowhere to somewhere. And my alternative is we're teaching rapport very differently today. And if it would be helpful, I could share some insights on how we're helping people be able to get to positions of rapport so much quicker.
If you could do that, could you give me your overarching interpretation of the word rapport, if you have one?
I think it's getting to a safe place of know, like, trust, which isn't going to disappear in all the time I got air in my lungs, right? But I think the balance on know, like, trust is forever changing. Like, people want to say, what's the most important thing? Well, the answer is it depends, right? Is if I don't know you, then I don't get to like or trust. And if I trust you and I trust 15 other people, when the kicker's probably like, right? And it isn't an obvious science of like, well, which one's the most important? The answer is it depends. Yeah. But the balance of being able to get to know, like, trust is increasingly harder than it ever has been in the past, because you have such a limited window of time to be able to do it in most environments. It isn't take someone for lunch, take him to a ball game, look at all the other things you could have done to be able to get to know them on a human level. We have to get there quicker. And what's often taught about how do you get people to rapport is lots of future-facing language, or lazy, like, what do you do for family, and what are your hobbies, and what are you into, and etc. The safest singular lesson that I've been sharing that's been resonating a lot recently is that rapport is built in the past. The easiest place to be able to ask meaningful questions of people to get to know, like, trust quickly is to have them fill you in on their backstory. Because they're easy questions for people to answer. So you look at it from your point of view. If it was like, hey, what were you doing before you were involved in sales coaching? You're like, I know this one.
Yeah.
And it becomes easy to be able to, and it doesn't feel threatening.
Yes.
And we can actually go deeper in a narrow lane than opposed to trying to build rapport wide.
Yeah.
I jump into what's you got kids?
Yeah.
Like, you can answer that question, but because there's a complexity inside of family dynamics and business owner, father, relationship, etc., it's not actually a very safe place to start a conversation, because there's judgment attached to it. Whereas if I'm looking for us to be able to do business together, if I say, hey, Ryan, like, what were you doing before you were involved in the sales coaching stuff? Like, you could tell me.
Yeah, I know where I've been, but I might not know where I'm going.
Correct. And I can have you build out in this same lane where you can get 7, 8, 9 levels of detail that bring me up to today's date. And then I can ask current situation questions like what's happening currently, and you can answer those. And what are some of the potential possible things that you're looking to be able to do next? And this is a very fluid, easy, safe space conversation, because you're not feeling threatened. Where if I'm asking you about your hobbies, you're feeling judged. If I say, like, what do you do for fun? Well, it's none of your business.
Yeah. Or I say it and then you copy me and mirror me. Yeah. And then I go, no, that's not true.
Or you lie.
Yeah, you lie.
You don't lie meaningfully. Like, it's not a mean lie. It's like, oh, well, how do I say something impressive at this period of time? Like, and you're like, yeah, I'm really into going to the gym. And you're like, I've been twice.
Well, why do you think salespeople don't go deep in their questioning? Why do they sit on the surface?
Because they don't know how to. It's a skills-based issue. Because they think that going deep is either getting to pain points, and there's so much training around, like, get to the pain point and probing and like all these other inappropriate parts of language is
it's the worst price.
It's disgusting. I mean, like you wouldn't want somebody to like show up to a meeting and probe you whilst finding your pain points.
Yeah.
The goal is to get to useful truth. That's what I think is way missing inside of most sales training programs that exist inside of the corporate world in the Western world. Is like, it is, we're asking clarifying questions, or we're asking discovery questions, or other versions of really lazy language that's applied. And it means that most salespeople feel like what they're trying to do is to do something to somebody. Whereas what we should be looking to do is to say, what can we do for people? How do we be in service? And you can't be in service until you find useful truth. Like, nothing's helpful until you know what help looks like. And so many people are trying to offer help before they even know what help looks like. And it's kind of like that if you're in a situation where you're going through grief, and that you are overwhelmed with grief. Maybe you've lost somebody, maybe something bad happened in your life, and somebody comes to you and says, if there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask. Like, it's not it's not helpful, is it?
Yeah.
It is, you have to know what help looks like before you can deliver help. And teaching the skills for people to be able to answer those questions is challenging.
The truth part to that is really interesting as well, because I can get useful information, I can get information, but it might not be the truth. So now I'm trying to help against something that's not the truth.
Correct. I give some examples of really lazy language, and I obsess on language, particularly in sales environments, right? I wrote a book called Exactly What to Say. I care about this stuff more than any human being on the planet.
My running book.
And that's 20 plus years of my life's work, right? Condensed into a 72-minute listen. Is a mistake that many people make is they too often talk in absolutes. Examples being, what is the number one problem? What is the top challenge you're facing right now? What is your favorite this? And when you speak in absolutes, you shut conversations down. And you're almost certainly going to get lies. I mean, what's your favorite restaurant of all time?
Let's go Moo Moo's.
You just made it up.
Just made it up. It's the first one I could think of.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas if I said, like, hey, if I'm here in the Gold Coast and I've got a couple of days, what's maybe somewhere that probably I should try if I'm here and I want to taste something delicious?
That's a brilliant example, yeah.
Right, you're going to give me your favorite restaurant if I give you a messy question.
I felt pressure on it as well.
Yes, you got to get it right.
I got to get it right.
In fact, and the same is like, what's the number one challenge that you're having inside your business right now? It's like, I don't know. I mean, what was your top takeaway from today's training? I don't fucking know. Like, it's too much. Yeah. What you're better to ask is messy questions. And if you can ask a messy question that allows somebody to give you their mess back, you can then help organize that chaos that comes. So instead of asking somebody what their top challenge is what are just a handful of some of the challenges that you're dealing with right now inside the business that are slowing you down or causing you friction? Like, I get your top challenge.
Yeah.
I just don't need to get it in one move.
Yeah.
You can play chess. It doesn't have to be a checkers move. And this is the issue with most training programs is they're trying to teach people to be robots. And that's creating sales friction and walls going up inside anybody in the decision-making process.
On that end, how sophisticated do you think today's consumers are to see through all of this?
Very. And I think it's only increasing. Like, we're stepping into a world right now where it's not like, is that a chatbot? Is that we're getting close to the fact that I think that's a chatbot. We're not far away from the belief is that unless I know that you is you, I'm going to believe that it's not you. That's going to be my first assumption.
Yeah.
Is just like you 10 years ago automatically assumed you're speaking to a call center in a foreign location. Where are we in 2025, 26 is consumers are going to start assuming that we're speaking to something that isn't necessarily real, or if it isn't real, it is being supported or assisted by a third party. So the trust barrier is going to be way harder to overcome because the assumption is going to be, this isn't real. And it's not fully real. So we're going to struggle to be able to get that authentic badge of caring harder than we ever have done before because the consumer's going to assume that it's a lie.
How do we counter then? Does it come down to that personal brand component of being real and seen? Yeah, or telling the truth. Like you could just like, if you are looking to utilize technology that answers questions and provides advice and helps people in the decision-making process via AI or like artificially created avatars, etc., then just own up. Like, it could be like, hi, I'm not actually Phil. I was programmed by Phil. Right? It could be that. Yeah. And then I think that you might get more trust, but you're not going to get honest answers at this given point in time. Fast forward it 5-10 years, I actually think that what is possible is that people are going to trust a large language model more than they're going to trust a human for a number of things. We are going to find that people are going to get better levels of therapy at scale through being able to talk to an AI interface. And we might find that some of our younger children's deepest relationships are with something that's not actually human
in terms of
That's
the conversations.
crazy.
It's crazy, but it's like, I'm not making this stuff up. That's the direction of travel we're going.
My instinct as you were saying that is that I'm not going to feel judged by virtue of any questions that this LLM could be asking me.
Right.
So I am gonna tell you the truth eventually when I know that it's tight and safe.
100%. But what does it then mean for the human part that comes with it? Is the human has to deliver an appreciating value that is significantly greater than it ever has done before. And one of our roles in influence, persuasion, sales, whatever you choose to be able to call it, is to never forget that a big part of our role is that we are professional mind maker-uppers. We're in the business of influencing people's decision-making process. And the greatest expense to most businesses is the people that are saying maybe. Like, it isn't the people that are saying no, it's indecision. It's those that are stuck in maybe. So if you can find ways that you can increase confidence in your maybes, then there's a strong possibility that you'll increase the growth inside your business. And that almost always is going to need people who are going to sit in the mess with people. Because consumer can know all the right questions to be able to ask. But it needs somebody to ask the right questions back of it in the other direction to be able to find clarity. And that requires emotional intelligence. So a professional in the sales environment in 2030 isn't going to be...
It's close.
I know it's close, but the technological change on that is going to be massive. It isn't going to be Brosif with the hustle that is... is crushing and closing and ringing bells. Like, it's going to be different. It's going to be heart-centered individuals that can assist the decision-making process.
And do you think this is why, and hopefully this comes across the right way because you came into my world only a few years ago, do you feel that this is why your methodology, because it is heart-centered, it is human-centric, do you think this is great, right? This is just doing exactly how you've always taught it.
I'm very biased, right? It's something that is plugged into the way that we've been teaching and doing business since forever. It's slower sometimes.
Yes.
But also there's less collateral damage. And when you look at the overlapping of everybody's reach got bigger. You with me? It's like the internet gave people infinite reach. You don't just have to have customers and clients that are within your geographic vicinity that, understand your footprint from locality. You can now work to a global audience, but so can everybody else.
Yes.
So actually, all of this reach you have is the same reach that they all have, which now means everything's overlapping again, which means the way of differentiation is getting back to obnoxious levels of conversion. How do you know who you people are? How do you show that you're right for them? How do you deliver lasting change? And is the sales role is going to become even more important inside organizations.
You mentioned there about location. You obviously moved to New York 10 years ago?
Yeah.
So from the UK straight to...
I went to Los Angeles first and then bounced over to New York very promptly.
And you coach globally or speak globally?
Yep.
What are the common mistakes people are making across all cultures, industries, sectors? Is there anything that really kind of stands out?
4 things. One is that almost everybody forgets that the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment you're saying it. So they don't do the work before the work to get ready for all the known conversations. 2 is people forget that curiosity is the fuel to great conversation. So they think that what they need to be able to do is to have all the insights and all the information, whereas instead they just need to be better listeners. They forget that people do things for their reasons and not yours. So even in a sales environment, they forget that you're in the recommending business and you shouldn't recommend anything to anybody unless you can say these words first. And the words you should look to say first are the words because of the fact that you said. Because of the fact that you said blank, blank, and blank, then for those reasons, my recommendation is blank, blank, and blank. And 4th and finally is it doesn't matter what country we're in. People forget that the person who's asking the questions is the one that controls the conversation. And we're not teaching people to ask great questions. We're teaching people to give great answers.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I often say that the best salespeople don't have the best answers, they have the best questions.
Correct.
So completely aligned. What about industries? Is there an industry that stands out to you where you're like, if a lead or an opportunity comes in, instant red flag, for whatever reason, that demographic just does not work with me or I don't work well with them?
I have industries on a moral level that I wouldn't work for. I have no desire to work with a tobacco company. We would back away from that instantaneously. That would be a hard pass before it even came in, regardless of fee. And that's just from a moral point of view. Sure. It's like not bad. And much of the hard passes come in from that. Am I aligned with the vision, mission, values that exist inside that organization? Industry-wise, I mean, I've worked in political environments, I've worked in nursing environments, I've worked in military environments, I've worked in some really interesting, diverse arenas I never thought I'd ever go in. Now, that means that quite often I'm really open to learn.
Yeah.
So the industries, though, that I feel vulnerable in is when I feel like I don't know enough. Like if I'm playing from a weakness, and I'll only step into those if I can own up to the fact, like I'm not coming in as an industry expert. Like I know.
Does that excite you though? Because it's an opportunity for you to learn, or are you?
It's both.
Yeah,
it's both. I think there's a vulnerability that comes with it. There's an intrigue and curiosity comes with it. And as long as that's cleared up, like in the decision-making process, is like I can go into it feeling excited. But I'll give an example right now of business that I wouldn't want. And fast-paced call center environments where they've got 1,000 people in the call center that they want me to come in and train their 1,000, 100, like whatever it might be in a call center. I don't want that business today because I don't believe in the factory production, smile and I'll get the numbers, analytic, robotic type. And I don't like the culture that creates. And that's just a choice that I have to make. I don't mean it doesn't work. It's just not my vibe. Yeah. But what I might do in that same environment is if they had a customer success department that was dealing with saves and how do they look to be able to recover lost deals, where do we find the leaky buckets from where there are things inside their existing process that are creating a drop-off, I might take that puzzle. So what I don't want to be able to do is I don't want to be the answer to the masses, but if I'm SEAL Team 6 that's going into saying, how do we engineer sales conversations slightly differently at scale where, I can make 5, 6, 7, 8 tweaks that can dramatically change. And I've done that in like the solar industry a few times that I don't love, but like I'll get into the retention department. I'll listen to calls for a couple of days. We'll make 4 or 5 big adjustments to the way that the call structure goes. And conversion rate goes up 12, 15%. And number of deals that we find ourselves in customer success that need to be retained or saved is less and saves.
They're still in sales, right?
Yeah.
And you actually said that right at the beginning. You said that the people you like working with are the ones that don't believe they're in sales,
right?
Which is quite interesting because it's just language.
Correct.
Talk to me about, for just really quickly, your kids and the way they look at you. Because I got asked this morning as I dropped my son off at pre-prep, so he's 4 years old, and she said, "What do you do?" That's one of the teachers, and I explained to her, and she said, "Oh yeah, Fox said you stand on stage and entertain people." And she goes, "I couldn't work out." And she goes, "I thought you were a magician."
Right.
As I walked in this morning, what do you think your kids say about you? How do they describe you?
I'm a teacher for grown-ups, is what the little ones say.
That's nice, yeah.
And that's something they can understand. And I think my elders are probably a touch more confused on that, in that they would probably say that Dad travels the world and he speaks a lot and he travels a lot and he's written a few books. Would probably be the answers that they would give.
Do you have balance?
I don't know anybody that does. So I wouldn't say that I have it figured out that way around.
Yeah.
Because there's always demands and there's always opportunities. Like I'm in the provider role inside my family unit, and like you, I'm a big small business, and then hire a number of real people that you give a damn about. So keeping payroll tight, keeping the growth, keeping the vision, building a company that's big enough to be able to contain the goals, hopes, and dreams of the people that you bought on the ride is a full-time job. So that challenges, but I'm always in the, how do I maintain health? How do I maintain relationships with the people I care about? And I'd say the hardest thing for me for balance is friendships, more so even than family. It's when you build a global business and you've got friends that are dotted all around the world, you very quickly realize that you don't have many friends.
Yes.
You have lots of amazing acquaintances. But because you get so stretched, your bandwidth gets really tested, that your true friend group just goes and that's probably one of the harder parts that I'm actively looking to work on right now, is like, who are who are the, like, I got 100 people I could call for a business issue.
I hear.
But like, it's like, who are the 2, 3, 4 that you just want to meet for a beer and not talk about work?
Do you ever, I don't know if regret's the right word, but I'll use it just for this question. Do you ever regret the journey choice that you've taken yourself on?
I think there are steps on a journey that you might go, I could have gone that way and not that way. But those are micro decisions. It's nothing different than like you went on a 2-week vacation somewhere, had a great time, and then on the way back you're like, we should have probably stayed there a little longer, or if I knew about that ferry at that given point in time, we'd have got that one other excursion or that one other trip on. So mostly speaking, I don't have any big regrets about what we've gone on to be able to achieve, but I do feel way more responsible about what I do with the next decade. And want to make sure that what I don't do is I don't chase the growth chapter so much that I forget that there is a come down side of this as well that is important, and told myself through this business in its entirety, like, I'm building for the future, I'm building for the future, I'm building for the future, I'm building for the future. There has to become a point where you go, no, I'm good. I'm gonna start coming down here now as well. And that's the season of life that I'm very much in right now. Like, we've built the licensing arm of the business out. I got 52 licensed partners that teach EWTS methodology. We built an entire business that is what we call PNR, which is Fill Not Required. And
love that.
Trying to
be R&R.
Yeah. The goal is to try and think about, like, what would my business look like if I wasn't here? And I mean, like, done in a box, like burnt in an oven, whatever it is I choose to be able to do, or somebody chooses for me. Like, if I'm gone, what does the business look like? And this is nothing to do even with like my legacy or ego, etc. It's like, well, there's a container here that has promises that are made to a number of people. Like, how do I make that something that can live long enough to be able to deliver upon those dreams of others? And I've seen many examples in our line of business of people that are many years seasoned on from where we are right now, and most of them don't provide me good positive role model. And I won't mention names because it's irresponsible to be able to do so, but I've been on speaking tours in the Middle East, and I've been on speaking tours through Europe, and you're speaking with household names and people that you'd grown up looking up to, and their only identity is inside the role of who they are in front of an audience, and they are sucked into the grind that they cannot recognize themselves outside of that caricature they've created for themselves, and their health has struggled, and no one cares about the fact that they're really on the road, and they're chasing a drug, but they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're still running it. And I like, not that.
Do you think it's been good that you've been exposed to that?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think all of us should have mentors intentionally that are both significantly older than us and significantly younger than us. I think that's just a good practice, is like, who is you 10, 15, 20 years from now that you can look to and learn from? And who are you to someone else? Like, you should have an understudy and be an understudy.
Yeah.
And it helps keep you fluid.
Yeah. On that, the phrase that came to me then as you were saying that is, I'm getting there. When people say, how are you going? I'm getting there. Where? There is no where.
They're great.
And we had this as a team the other day. We had a conversation actually about the business, the credibility, what we've been able to achieve. I'm like, guys, we are where we wanted to be 5 years ago. We're there now, right? We now have to get the results for where we are.
Yeah.
But was there a moment for you where you went, I've made it, not from an ego perspective, but was there a stage you spoke on? Was there an invite you got where you've gone, wow, this is it?
But several milestone moments that are really quite iconic if I look at it from a career point of view. And I think one big one earlier days was just the recognition of one big contract. Like, I got a speaking tour from one corporate client that put me in 18 cities in the US, and now I'm traveling to 18 cities on their dime, etc. And I'm being put up in fancy hotels at the weekend and the gaps in between. I'm like, okay, this is different than me. I did some international work, but I'm schlepping out of Heathrow Airport on a BA flight to
a Renault.
Yeah. to some part of Eastern Europe to go deliver a 1 day, 2 day sales program. That was a different catalyst. I think also the success I've had with the book Exactly What to Say has created many a milestone that have really been quite prolific. And at a point within its early launch, we were one of the best selling books on Amazon, period. Not in category, not in class, top 20 books in the world. And outsold 50 Shades of Grey, outsold Harry Potter, like a legit statistic.
I love that's the first book you read.
Yeah, right? But those you're like, oh, like, dang. And then I went in with Exactly What to Say with the goal of being able to create milestone of, I was looking for a perennial bestseller, not a list. Like, my goals going in was never, can I make New York Times? Can I make Wall Street Journal, etc.? It was, can I create a perennial bestseller that hangs around for a decade? So there's been so many milestones there through those early launch pieces that came in. Other big milestones is Exactly What to Say sold more year 2 than it did year 1, sold more year 3 than it did year 2, and then it's been about flat since. So I love those kind of stats.
And you're still shifting 300 a day.
Somewhere like that, yeah.
Wow.
The 1,000 reviews mark on Amazon.com was a big milestone for me, because at the time I was looking at anything that had perennial bestseller attached to it. It had more than 1,000 reviews. I'm like, that's a good milestone to go at. It's like, can I get to more than 1,000 reviews? And we're now at like 7,500, which is great. We don't ask for them; they just come. Other big milestones that have been career catalysts, like Open for Tony Robbins, being recognized as one of the youngest members of the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame, and getting recognized into that was a huge milestone. People paying to be part of our Exactly What to Say certification program, like dropping a significant life-changing sum of money to say that we want to align our brand to your brand. Like, these are big things. Like, not that I've made it, but it's like we're creating something that's bigger than self. Like, it is worth it. Like, this isn't.
Do you like the legacy notion that there will be something beyond you for the kids to be proud of, grandkids?
I like the idea of creating a body of work that is meaningful. And I think that like, I'm not building a personal brand. I'm not writing another book. I'm building a body of work that in some way is going to shape or change the helping business in some way. Like, other people will do stuff differently as a result of which. And I'd like to think that there'd be parts of what I've built, created, and modeled that will inspire other people to go on and build and create and model in certain ways. And just like we can sit here and say, I listened to a Jim Rohn CD, or I was, inspired by Zika, or I was a part of a training program that I led with Brian Tracy, like those kind of things. Is I'd like there to be some form sort of baton handing off.
Yeah.
It's like grandma's recipes being evolved.
Well, I as you were explaining that, and you were going for all these OGs, it took me back to when you spoke about them. You're part of the relay race on stage. We're part of a whole relay race
100%.
in time.
Yeah.
And it's just about passing it on.
And it's so cute as well. Like, I love it now with like TikTok and all these other social channels. And there's a lot of people who've got massive audiences and they're teaching stuff like it's brand new. And I'm like, yeah, I wrote that a while ago. And then I humble myself, because I'm like, oh, I did write it 15, 20 years ago, but I also don't think it was mine when I wrote it then. You know what I mean? It's like, like it is.
It's your take on.
Correct. Yeah. So I've learned to be like really cool with the 20, 30 somethings that are putting stuff out. And my first human thought is,
yeah, I've done this.
Yeah. And then I'm like, no, like, I remember where I was at that point in my career, and sharing stuff like I was playing it for the first time. And just understand that that's part of career growth. And you got to learn to be bigger than that.
I got one final question for you before we go for lunch. 14-year-old Phil has got his sponge in his hand. He's washing this car. But he's looking at you now. What does he admire about you? Mm-hmm. And what would he question?
I think the question is probably the better question to dive into there. I think the question would be like, was it worth it for how much you give up? And I think that's a question that many of us that live big lives know how much we've left behind. And past relationships with family, the things that you miss out, the birthdays, the celebrations, that would be the question, right? Like I love and adore my family to the max, but like there's a family group chat that they chat in, and I sometimes observe, and like those kind of questions would kick back. Is like when you come from a world that's this big, and then you build a world for yourself that's this big, you become less significant in that piece there. And I think that would be the question that the younger version of me would be asking myself. And maybe through the years, I'll explore the answer to that question more.
Yeah, I was going to say the answer doesn't come to you straight away.
Come to me. And I think you asking that question right now is making me think about that. And it's hard, right? You can't have everything.
No, you
can't. You can't be at every sports event and every this and every that and every whatever, and also sleep 8 hours a night, and also build a massive business, and also travel the world, and make sure you get your 6 workouts in, and eat that frog, and buy back all of your time,
4-hour work week,
and live a 4-hour work week, and 10x everything in your life. Like, you can't do it all. And I'm remarkably proud of what I've built in the business, and I think this is what young me would look at, is to say that I've built a world that's big enough that now has perhaps changed some of the generational DNA inside my family unit as a whole as to what's possible, and built a level of beliefs that have been rippled through in a variety of different ways, from friends, from family, etc. And even one of my proudest things, and I shared this at one of our when we do our certification events, we do private dinners, and I ask a single question of everybody to sit at the table, and then I think I've got to answer it myself, which I often forget. But it was like, what is one of the most things that you're most proud of yourself that you don't get to share very often? And my older brother now works inside my business, and my older brother was a school teacher in the UK, working in Greater London schools, and did fantastic by every box ticking, but was burnt out, was stuck in the bureaucracy, had no idea what he wanted to be able to do in his career, and was down and depressed and not happy. And he's ended up coming inside my business. It was a beautiful accident. And now he heads up learning and development. He builds curriculum for our guides that they can go on to train. He knows how to build curriculum. He was a sports team coach inside the schooling system, and now is delivering coaching to entrepreneurs, trainers, coaches, consultants inside of our licensing model, and was a former DJ in Ibiza as well. And so his knowledge of events is from that side, and he's bringing that all together inside our business, and he's making more money than he's ever made. He's happier than he's ever done, works his own timeline, proud of his work, and he's got a decade ahead of him. And in this business that he's mapped out, like with a plan and a goal of what he's doing. So he's excited, and seeing that, and then other examples like that then play back into the like the family PR piece. That's nice to see, is to know that I built something big enough that can help other people. Yeah. And there's sacrifice that comes with that, but there's a reward downside ratio as well.
Isn't that just, mate? The story's fantastic. I could sit and talk to you for hours. We're going to go grab some lunch now. But the final thing, I'll just ask you, where can people find you, read about you? Obviously, the books are an easy...
Websites, philmjones.com or exactlywhattosay.com. If you want to continue the conversation, best place is Instagram, and come find me at PhilMJonesUK.
Amazing, mate. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
That was awesome.